Hello leaders, Patrick Jinks here, leadership and strategy coach and president of the Jinks Perspective. It has been nearly a month or so since our last episode, but we have a flurry of new episodes on the way, so stay tuned. Today's episode, episode 78, I want to share a school assignment that might interest you. Let's cue it up. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I'm on the home stretch of a doctoral program in organizational leadership at Columbia International University. One of my recent assignments was to create a brief presentation for my classmates about change leadership. I aced the assignment with an A, and it's only a few minutes long, so I thought I would share it here with you in case you found it relevant. Many of you are leading organizations in the midst of change. Some of this change might be minor, and for many of you, because I'm coaching some of you, it's wholesale transformational change. I think this video will give you a couple of different lenses to look through your perspective as a leader of change and the perspective of those that you lead. Those really have to align if you want to achieve success in change leadership. So with no further ado, here's the presentation that I shared with my classmates about aligning those two perspectives during a change initiative. Enjoy. Hello, I'm Patrick Jinks, certified leadership coach, president of the Jinks Perspective, and PhD student at Columbia International University. And I would like to take just a few minutes and provide some perspective on what it takes to lead change in an organization. Many consultants and organizational leaders have talked about and taught the processes or the cycles of change for years. In this presentation, I'd like to do that, but I'd like to share that process from two different vantage points. The vantage point of the people being led and the vantage point of the leader or leaders instigating the change. One of the things I discovered during my career as a nonprofit CEO is that many people actually like the idea of change. It's the actual change that makes people feel nervous or fearful or stressed. We're all okay with change, just as long as it doesn't affect us. It doesn't impact us in a way that makes us uncomfortable. In other words, I don't mind you changing, I just don't want to be the one that has to change. What I got is good. Let's take a look at the first of these two perspectives, the people. In the Change Cycle series, this graphic provides an overview of what happens in the psyche of the people being led. We start with a sense of fear that we're going to lose what we know and maybe even lose the things we enjoy. We're skeptical. Sometimes we're even paralyzed because of this, and this can lead to widespread doubt in an organization and even toxic resentment. From there, we move to stage 3, and this is where we might see the writing on the wall by now. We feel anxious and confused, which creates a very dangerous situation within the cycle. If leaders aren't careful, this is the spot where they can lose quality people. However, in stage 4, things begin to shift. Early adopters might lead a larger group to feel a sense of anticipation and hopefulness. People become more energized, and from there, a broader understanding of what the organization is actually trying to achieve with this change. It starts to manifest. Finally, the change begins taking hold in the organization, and people actually begin to feel satisfied and focused and more deeply engaged. But this is only one dimension of the cycle, and it assumes that effective leadership is being brought to the table. Otherwise, you wouldn't make it all the way through the cycle. Perhaps one of the greatest modern-day icons of change leadership and thought theory is John Kotter. Kotter provides the second of the two perspectives presented here, and that's the leader's perspective. And in this cycle, Kotter is stressing the key behaviors that leaders must exhibit in order to lead the people through their own processes and the cycle of change we just covered. And for the leader, it begins with building the case by creating a sense of urgency, a need for the change. And then the leader starts building coalitions, forming a compelling strategic vision, enlisting an army of volunteers, and enabling action by removing the barriers to change. From there, the leader role turns to celebration and momentum by generating short-term wins and making sure that things stay moving forward. The change is finally instituted. And what struck me when I saw these two cyclical models is how perfectly they align with each other. If we look at the people perspective in the graph at the center of the circle, we see that as the people are experiencing loss and doubt, the leader on the outside of the circle is beginning to build a coalition and form a vision. As discomfort turns to discovery and hopefulness for the people, the leader can be found enlisting champions throughout the organization and delegating autonomy and empowerment throughout the organization to the team members. As short-term wins are generated, the people begin understanding the purpose and the value of the change. The leader then works to sustain that acceleration, keep the foot on the gas until we get to the final stage, which is the integration or the institution of change. Now, throughout this entire cycle, people are inevitably disappointed at some phase along the way. Disappointment in the fact that they can't remain in their comfort zones, perhaps. Marty Linsky once defined leadership as disappointing people at a rate they can absorb. If the leader moves through the cycle too quickly, the entire effort can implode. Beadle provides a summary of what happens when these two cyclical perspectives align and move forward all the way through the cycle. Leaders create hope, energy, and enthusiasm, and people are more committed to going along. More good things happen and fewer bad things happen. It is the artful leader and the dedicated team that can navigate the more difficult sections of the cycle. When Kouzes and Posner outlined the practices of exemplary leaders, they included the concept of inspiring a shared vision. And the term they used was imagine the possibilities. World-class photographer and former National Geographic photographer DeWitt Jones discussed the keys to creativity in a video called Everyday Creativity, and he asserted that the most powerful way to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary was for the creator to put themselves in the place of most potential for the extraordinary at the right time, and helping others see the desired vision by placing them in those places of potential leads to effective change. Thank you. Change was one of my primary missions when I was in organizational leadership as a CEO of a nonprofit. And next week, I'll share one of the potential pitfalls that I'd like to help you avoid. Fortunately for me, a good colleague caught me just in time before I stepped too far. More on that next week. That's the Jinx Perspective for this week. As always, if you would like to have a conversation about how the Jinx Perspective might be able to help you or your organization achieve greater clarity, simplicity, or alignment in your mission work, you can schedule a free discovery call with me at any time by clicking the link that's in the video description below this video. And if you haven't already, I hope you will subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button below. And don't forget to also click the bell icon so that you're notified when new episodes arrive. And finally, as always, I hope you'll share this with a friend or a colleague that you think might find it helpful. And we'll see you here next week.